Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I'm so glad to be back. Welcome to Wednesday Live. I think someone's mowing outside. Sorry if you hear the mowing outside. Hello, hello. Welcome to Wednesday Live. Make sure you pop in the chat section. Let me know that you're here. I'm Victoria Calvin here. I'm Victoria Marie Scraps. If you like all things scrapbooking and whatnot, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time we go live here on the channel whenever I post content as well. We didn't have a live last week because I was on vacation, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. Hello, everyone who's just joined me. So glad to be back. Welcome, welcome. Here I am. Hi, so glad to have you guys here. Carrie says, hello from sunny Seattle. Hello, 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 Laura and Claire and Libby. Oh my goodness. Hello, Libby, this is your first live. Well, welcome, welcome. Hey, Fran, all the way from Australia. Hey, Lisa, yes, it was a very, very relaxing vacation and very much needed. Very much needed. I'll share a little bit more here in just a few once we get some more people popped on. Hey, Sarah, what's going on from North Texas? Hello, all my North Texas people. Hey, Lisa Stander, how are you? Awesome, from Monterey Bay. Fantastic. Hey, Janine, hello, and Janet. So glad that you guys are here with me today. We're going to hang out for just a second, let some other people join us. We're going to be talking about album sizes today, and I thought that I had a whole nother plan for when I got back from vacation, and then I had another idea pop in my head about album sizes, and it wasn't too long before I went on vacation that I was in conversation with some folks here in the Victoria Marie Scraps community where we were talking about album sizes. Some of us are really dedicated to the album size that we prefer to use. Some people like to switch it up, and some folks are kind of in a spot where they are testing out new album sizes. And so I thought I'd talk about my approach to deciding what size album that I use for the projects, and also a little bit about my Charleston, South Carolina vacation album that I'm going to be working on, and how I'm going to be approaching it. Hello, everyone who's just joined us. Emma, hello. And Melanie, and Gemma, and Barb. Hey guys, so glad that you are here. By the way, if you like what you see here in this live, make sure you hit that thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that you enjoy this type of content. Hey Deb, she says, I was washing a pot, but I listening from the kitchen. Awesome. Janet, I had a fantastic vacation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. So, most of you know I went to on vacation last week, so we weren't on live. We vacationed in Charleston, South Carolina. It was fantastic. It was fabulous. It was my first time going to Charleston. And if you're not familiar with Charleston, it is a fantastic historic city. It has a lot of history, very important history, with regards to America, enslaved people, being a coastal community. It has just a lot of really, really interesting, rich history. And we went mainly for the beach because we weren't trying to learn a whole lot on this trip. But when I vacation, I like to learn a lot about the city, a lot about the history of the city. And so this was our first time going to Charleston. It was absolutely beautiful. This was a much needed vacation, a getaway after spending several weeks trying to reconfigure things with my business and being really super busy with projects and feeling a little bit burnt out. So it was great to be able to get away. The beaches are gorgeous on the Atlantic. If you haven't been on the East Coast and East Coast beaches, they're definitely warmer than on the West Coast. I lived in California, and the beaches on the West Coast are super cold. In other parts of the world, the beaches are either warm or they're super cold. But on the Atlantic, it is very, very nice. We stayed there. We actually extended our stay by one day. We spent a couple of days at the beach, and then we went to downtown Charleston and got to look at all the historic architecture, which was like one of the things that I wanted to see, and all the sights and sounds that people recommend that you see, like the Pineapple Fountain. We went and toured the Charleston Exchange and Dungeon, which has a very interesting history. And then we also just walked around and we're just like sightseeing. I took a bunch of pictures. Well, not actually, I didn't take a ton of pictures, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second. But I think I took a fair amount of photos for this trip. I'm going to talk about how I'm addressing that now. And it was just relaxing to be there. We ate some pretty good food while we were there. We didn't hit up all the restaurants that I thought that we would, but on our first night, usually we try to do a kickoff dinner to our vacation when we arrive somewhere. So we ate at the Charleston Harbor Fish House, which was fantastic. It gives you wonderful views of the harbor and the boats. Of course, there's lots of big Navy vessels there, along with private boats and yachts. We decided that we want a boat, but we want to hire someone to like maintenance it, take us out on our boat. We don't want to deal with all that. But I could definitely see why people enjoy a coastal experience, living that coastal life. And it's different depending on what part of the world you're in, right? So coastal life on the West Coast, even if you live on the southern or the northern part, is different from, say, coastal life here in Texas or on the Gulf Shores border, those of us who are in the southern states, versus on the East Coast. It's just a different vibe. So it was really, really fun to be able to experience that. So I came back relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. I've got a lot of things I'm going to be working on, but the good thing is that I came back with the mindset and the intention on continuing to take things easy and to be kind to myself after vacation, not jumping right back into work. I kind of had a slow ease on Monday and Tuesday, and so it was great. It was great to get away and to be outside and whatnot. And we probably spent most of that time, I'd say, on the beach. It's just fantastic. This was Corinne, my daughter, Corinne's first time experiencing a beach. And at first she was a little hesitant to want to go into the ocean, but she actually ended up loving it. She loved crashing into the waves and the whole nine. She filled her lungs with a bunch of seawater. She had a blast. I took some fantastic photos of the coastline. It's just that whole vibe. It's just what I've been wanting. I hadn't been to a beach in probably 6 or so years. I went to Galveston years ago, Galveston, Texas, for a convention and for a conference, and I haven't been to one. And Bree hasn't been to a beach in a while too. So it was really, really great to go and just to relax and to people watch and the whole nine. So if you are interested in a fantastic beach, kind of coastal, laid-back southern scene, check out Charleston, South Carolina. It's a fantastic destination. We were there we drove from Texas. We stopped in Atlanta, and then we drove to South Carolina. And we were supposed to be there, I think, for 5 days, and we ended up staying for 6 or so. Maybe 6 or 7, I can't remember. Anyway, so it was nice to be able to have that experience and the opportunity to be able to say, you know, we're going to stay a little bit longer, which we did, which was great. We saw the angel tree. For those of you who are familiar with that, it's a tree that's said to be almost anywhere between 400 to 500 years old, and its branches are long and extended, and they have it kind of supported because it's heavy, but it's fantastic photo opportunity. Really great history around that. Learned a little bit about the Gullah Geechee culture in South America, or South Carolina, which are enslaved Africans who were brought over to South Carolina. And a huge, huge history behind that. So if you like to consume that type of history, it's fantastic. We did not get to tour any of the plantations that were there. I wanted to tour at least one plantation while we were there. We didn't get to do that. But we definitely will be going back to Charleston for another vacation at some point in the future. So anyway, we had a lot of fun for our beach vacation. So you might imagine that I'm really, really super excited to scrapbook this vacation, as I am with so many. And I started thinking about album sizes and how I want to approach this project, and think about the storytelling journey that I want to go on with this particular project. In the past, I would go on a vacation and I'd have thousands of photos, thousands upon thousands of photos, and I'd come home and I would do absolutely nothing with the photos, and then it would take me forever to decide what type of album I want to do and how I want to lay it out and all that. And so I still have vacation albums that I haven't even started yet because I had all these hangups behind the photos and whatnot. And so I told myself when I went on this Charleston vacation that when I came home, I would immediately process the photos, figure out how I wanted the album to go, and also select an album for the project. So I'm actually going to switch my screen real quick. I'm going to show you the album that I'm looking at, and then I'm also going to show you some other album sizes that I've considered. If you are someone who is somewhat on the fence about this, fear not. You are not alone when trying to figure out an album size for your project. So I'm going to wait for the screen to switch here for my desktop. There we go. Deb says, I've only been to Savannah, would like to visit Charleston. I know Savannah is another fantastic place. Janet says she was in Galveston for just a few hours on a business trip, hoping to get back there. The Galveston area has cleaned up a whole lot for those of you who are familiar with that part. So it's a great beach experience. Corpus Christi, some of those other coastal spots in the southern part of Texas are fantastic options. Fantastic. We did travel quite a distance. It was in total, I believe, 16 hours, and we split it up over 2 days coming and going. Although we've decided the next vacation we're planning for next year, we actually have two that we're planning. One to Seattle, which we're very excited about. And then, of course, we are finally going back to Disney World. That will be our second trip to Disney World. And we've postponed that due to COVID. We actually rescheduled it 3 times. So this will be our 4th time to reschedule it. But for those trips, we are definitely getting on an airplane. And so that'll be Corinne's first time flying. So we're really, really excited. So she'll get to do that twice next year. So we're very excited about that. Did you take pictures or take pictures with a paper in mind? Laura, I just took pictures. I had no design details or anything in mind when I went. I just know that it's going to be photo heavy and journaling heavy for this particular project for sure. But when I took the pictures, I didn't have any papers or anything in mind. I do know that I want it to be more of a muted color scheme because I want the pictures to stand out. So I don't want anything too heavy. Sarah says, yes, Walt Disney World's on my list next year. Woohoo! I think a lot of us waited until 2021, 2022 to go back to Disney World for sure. Some people are waiting a little bit longer than that. All right, so let's talk about album size. Let me move these out the way. For this project, for my Charleston project, I was initially going to do a 6x8 album. Those of you who are new to scrapbooking, if you're not too familiar with album sizes, there are a variety of album sizes on the market. A size that's super popular, 6x8, mainly for things like December Daily or travel albums. Some people work in this size because it's just a little bit easier and manageable for them for their regular scrapbooking. Some people do Project Life scrapbooking in this, but I really, really enjoy the 6x8 album experience. This was supposed to be a Project Life album, I think. I was doing it monthly. Or Stories by the Month. I didn't quite finish this album, ran out of steam, but this was 2020. Was this 2020? Oh, yeah. I know why I didn't finish it because, it was 2020. So anyway, I was using my Allie Edwards Story by the Month kits to create this album. And I thought I would give it a try. 6x8 I usually do for my December Daily, but I want to give it a try for just my daily storytelling. And I absolutely love this size. And I have considered using this size for my Charleston scrapbook. As you can see, I didn't quite finish it. I have it laid out, but I didn't quite finish it all. Looks like there's some stories in here. I love the idea of pockets and the whole 9, right? So that's cool. So 6x8. So anyway, I've worked in this size a lot. Here's another example of that. I have a December Daily album that's not quite finished. This is on my list to finish. If you're in our Project Done class, I talk a little bit about some of these December Daily projects that I want to finish. This was 2019, and that was quite a particularly busy year. But as you can see in 6x8 albums, you can do a lot with photos and embellishing and that type of stuff. Perfect for travel albums. It's a great size for that, or specialty albums in some way. Typically, if I'm going to do an album of this size, I'm going to be focusing on photos and words, and then embellishing where the opportunities arise, sticking in, little ephemera and that type of thing. When I finish this project, I'll do a walkthrough. I'm probably not going to film the process of this because I'm behind on, let's not say behind. I have 3 Project Life or December Daily albums that aren't quite finished yet. So I will do walkthroughs of those, and then I'll do process videos on my December Daily for this year. So anyway, So I thought I was going to use the 6x8 size. However, I forgot that I have a 9x12 album from Ali Edwards. And I love the 9x12 size because it's slightly bigger than 8.5x11, not as big as 12x12, but this is a size I've never worked in before. So let's look at a comparison for those of you who need that visual. So here's a standard 12x12 album, which we probably all have for the most part. Here's the 9x12. Okay? So a little bit shorter by a few inches, right? But still the same height as the 12x12. Still gives you plenty of room for your layouts, and even a 9x12 layout is still plenty of room to do a traditional layout if that's what you like, but slightly smaller. And I feel that 9x12 will be a more workable size. I'm slowly, not entirely, slowly moving away from doing 12x12s for travel or themed type things. So I wouldn't do a December daily in this size, although there are people who do December daily in this size, like Nicole Jones 911. She does her December dailies in a 12x12. However, when I saw Ali using 9x12, and there's a couple other people who use 9x12, I was like, this may be an interesting choice because it'll give me more room versus a 6x8, obviously. I like the idea of using a 4x4, and I have used a 4x4 album before for a day in the life, and I like using it for these kind of themey type projects, which are great, but this wasn't going to give me enough real estate for the stories and things I want to tell on this vacation. But still a very good option for those vacation albums. And then I started playing with the Citrus Twist Life Crafted albums, and I believe this is like 5.25 by 9 or something like that. I put links down to some of the albums in the description, so you can go and check out the dimensions of the albums. So this one, of course, is slimmer than a 6x8 by a few inches, right? It's bigger than a 4x4, clearly. But it also gives a lot of good opportunity to scrapbook in that traveler's notebook style. And I know a lot of people have adopted that style over the past few years. So I'm using this for our hot springs vacation that we took last year. And not quite finished with this one yet. I hope to finish this by the end of the year. This is on my project done list. And it gives me, of course, the vertical pockets, space for 3x4s, the whole 9. So this is another really cool option for those travel type of projects, particularly if you don't have an extensive vacation. Maybe you went somewhere for a couple of days, 3 days, a week or so. You don't have a ton of photos or whatnot. You just want to keep the project small. This is a really great option, this traveler's notebook style. I like this because it's in an album, a linen album, and has this ring binding system. I like using the pockets versus, say, a traditional traveler's notebook insert because I like to embellish and stuff. If you use the regular inserts, those become bulky. Some people absolutely love them. I prefer this. But either way you go, you can't go wrong. So this is another fantastic option for traveling notebooks or vacation, any type of themed birthday gift, or even just regular. There's some people who use this size for their regular scrapbooking because they want a smaller landscape. And that's perfectly okay too, right? There's different strokes for different folks. Now, for those of us who are eclectic scrapbookers, we probably have a variety of different album sizes that we like to use for various reasons. And I'll get to that here in just a second. Another example, let me move this out of the way for just a second. My Week in the Life album, this is another project that I'm working on. I hope to get finished with this by the end of July. I wanted something super simple for this particular project, and I'm slowly working my way through this project. But again, not a ton of embellishing, but mainly photos and words for this project. So I thought the Citrus Twist Life Crafted album would be perfect for this particular project. So again, photos and words, little bit of embellishing. I created a kit using some Felicity Jane products for this particular project. And as far as photos and stuff are concerned, I'm teaching myself how to use Photoshop. So I've been resizing photos. In fact, I made this little collage with photos and journaling using Photoshop, which was super easy to do. Taught myself how to do that. So I've been exploring with Photoshop. I've been, honestly, I held off on teaching myself Photoshop for many years. But there's other photo type things that you can do to create stuff like this. Anyway, so very simple, very clean. I'm kind of, my style is kind of evolving this year, just looking at doing things a little bit differently creatively, and kind of scaling back to this size for different projects definitely works. I just love the way that looks. It's nice and clean and simple, and it doesn't take up a bunch of shelf space. I'm trying to think in the future, you know, in terms of, you know, will I have room to store all these scrapbooks? And if it's just a travel book or a themed album, I kind of want to go a little bit smaller scale. So I considered using the Citrus Twist album. And I know some of you have questions about this. This Citrus Twist album, if you want more information about it, all the dimensions and stuff, there's a link in the description. Click on that. It'll take you directly to the product. And you click on the product, it'll tell you all the information you need to know about the measurements on this album. All right, so I thought that initially when I went on this vacation that I was going to do this Citrus Twist, use one of these Citrus Twist albums, which is fine. Of course, I'm using it for another vacation project, but I needed a little bit more space because I took a lot of beautiful photos in Charleston. There's a lot of fantastic photo opportunities. It's a great place to test out your photography skills because there's just so many beautiful things to take pictures of in that city. But wherever you travel to, or even if it's just around town and you're just kind of exploring, I figured that a 9x12 would be the perfect size. So it's not 12x12. It's not as small as 6x8 or the Life Crafted album, which is a little bit over 4 1/4 by 8 1/2 or something like that. I could have that wrong. But it's just enough space for me to create what I want to for this project. So here we go. With this album, this one is from Ali Edwards. It's called Light Gray, I believe. It's a 9x12 album. And when you purchase the album, you get just a few sheets of protectors. She also sells the page protectors. Let me know in the chat section if you know who or any other companies that sell 9x12. I don't know if Scrapbook.com is selling 9x12. I didn't check to look. If you know of any other companies that are doing 9x12, let us know in the chat. Okay, so you have this full sheet here. 9x12. I believe that Inky Quill, if you guys are familiar with Inky Quill, Adele Toomey, I believe she scrapbooks in a 9x12 landscape when she's doing traditional layouts. But they do have these 9x12 page protectors available to you. By the way, none of this is sponsored. There's no affiliate or anything like that. I'm just sharing as a consumer and as a point of education here for our community. There's also the pocket page. Let me see if I can grab a piece of paper so we can see this a little bit clearly. I don't know if that helped or not. But there's a pocket page here option that you have 3x4 pockets and 2 4x6 pockets. And so I will be doing 9x12 layouts, which is new to me. And then I will be using some of these pocket pages as well because there's so many fantastic photos that I want to make sure that I get into this project. Then they have available, do I have these upside down? No, I don't. Let me get to another one real quick. You get the square pockets, and these are 3x3 pockets, which are fantastic. So bigger than the 2x2, but not quite as big as the 4x3. But I love that 3x3 size because if you need to have a bunch of photos and you don't want them too small, like a 2x2, that 3x3 gives you another inch all the way around. So that's a fantastic option. And then let's see, what else do they have here? They also have the multi-page 3x4 pockets as well. And I will mix and match these pockets in my design. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to be using to kind of figure out my design for this particular album. So I think that's it. Those are the different pocket styles. So she sells the pocket styles individually, and then you can get the packs of the different pocket styles. Not sure if who else sells 9x12. Laura says, I believe Scrapbook.com is having a sale today. Fantastic. Hey Patricia, what's going on? Can't wait to see what you do with the 9x12. I'm really excited about this one. In fact, I'm planning YouTube content where YouTube and Patreon content where I show people how I'm working in this album. Okay, so again, this is from Allie Edwards. I know there's other shops that probably sell 9x12. So make sure you check that out. I did leave a link to this specific album or just to her albums in general in the description. So you can check that out if you'd like. So I started with this album size. Again, it's not too small, it's not too big. I think this is going to be a perfect size that I will like to work in, whether it's for Project Life or whether it's for my vacation albums. I think I want to reserve 12x12 albums for things like my more extended family stories. If I'm, needing a larger landscape for things, I want to reserve my 12x12 albums for that. My child's Corinne's childhood stories or heritage albums, that type of thing. But I'm thinking going forward, I will probably do some of my vacation, my themed, and my project life in this size if I like it. So I'll let you guys know where I kind of end up on this. Barb says, found 9x12 on Amazon by a company called MCS. So that's interesting. So that's something to check out as well. So anyway, so there we go. So when I got back from my vacation, the first thing that I did was I went through all my photos, and I think I have less than 500 photos that I took on this vacation. And I was very purposeful in the photos that I took and the number of photos, mainly because I wanted to be in the moment. I didn't want to pressure my family because they don't always like being in photos, so I was very, very cognizant of that. But I wanted to make sure that I took photos that I knew I would want to keep and I would potentially want to scrapbook. So when I came home on Monday, we came home on a Sunday. When did we come home? I don't even remember. We came home Sunday evening. So on Monday, I immediately started processing my photos. And so now all of my photos have been purged and organized. They are fantastic quality photos, so I didn't have to do a whole bunch of editing on them or anything like that. I use my iPhone, and then I use my new camera, which is a Canon GX7. I have a cover on it, but I use my new camera interchangeably. I ended up using my iPhone majority of the time because it was just easier to carry around. And all of my photos are organized and they're saved on an external hard drive for right now, and then I'll save them to the cloud. But they're all organized by day and by what we saw on that particular day. So that'll help inform my storytelling. Now, you guys know that I love planning and love my planner sheets and all those good things. I recently switched over to digital planning, but I still need a space to be able to draw and sketch. I am working on a series of project tools that I hope to roll out this fall. And one of them is like a scrapbook project planning sheets. I already have the Scrap Like a Boss project planner, which is great. And I'm getting ready to revamp that for 2022. I'm going to actually pull it for a while and revamp that. But one of the things that I appreciate is having tools that you can immediately print as many copies as you want to print, and that you can pull them and have a single sheet, not a whole planner, because not everybody likes to work in a full planner. Sometimes you just want a project sheet. So right now I'm playing around with some designs. This is not a final design of this particular sheet, but I wanted one specific to my 9x12 album. So I created a planning sheet. Very simple on Canva. It wasn't anything major. I'm testing this idea out. Let me know in the chat section if you like using planning tools to help you with your scrapbooking, whether it's a hard copy sheet or digital. So what I did was I created a single sheet for a single page layout, 9x12, and I've already started to sketch out the design. So this is a title page. And what I intend to do is have a large photo here, and it's probably going to be of maybe the ocean or something, the beach where we're at, one of the two beaches that we went to. We went to Folly Beach and we went to the Isle of Palms, which was beautiful. And then have a strip of paper here where a title's going to go. I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like. an embellishment cluster, but this gives me an idea of how I want the page to go, and then I have notes. And then down here, I have spots for the photos that I want to include on this page. So I put Folly Beach or Pineapple Fountain. I'm not quite sure which photo I'm going to put there. The supplies, I know I want to use some kind of muted coastal colors for this, very modern colors. That's kind of where my design style is leaning more and more to these days. Beach, travel, themed, that type of thing, and I'll fill that in a little bit more. And then design notes, a little box for design notes. So this one says large photo, 9 by 10. Embellishment cluster, stamp or die cut title. I want to do something fun there for that title page. And I usually always like to make title pages for my traveling, my vacation album. So for example, this particular one, I have this title page here. So it tells me where we vacationed, what this particular project's about. And I usually have photos of us traveling, and then here I'll put, how many miles we traveled, if it's a road trip, or flight details or that type of thing. I love scrapbooking that type of information. So that's an example of a title page from a travel album there. And then I also created a sheet where I have 2 spaces that represent a 9 by 12 spread. So if I want to do a 2-page spread, then I can plan that out. So this page will go on the back. When I insert into the album, you'll have the title page, and when you flip it, then it's going to be this photo of my family and then some journaling to talk about the start of the trip. And then next to that, it's going to be a pocket page, and I just kind of drafted that out in this rectangle that I created. And so I know where I want to put my photos and which photos I want to put there. So right here, I know I want a 3 by 4 photo, and I want it of me drinking Starbucks, because we drink Starbucks a lot. In general, we drink a lot of it when we're on vacation. But usually when we're starting out on road trips or if we're flying, we're going to get a Starbucks drink. Then the stars represent where embellishments are going to go. The lines represent where the text is going to go. Then I want another 3 by 4 photo of me and my daughter. One of the Hamilton soundtrack cover, because we typically will always listen to Hamilton whenever we are on a road trip. Well, since it's come out, apparently. And then I'm going to do 2 photos here that's going to compare how my wife Aubrey packs and how I pack. So I'll share that later, which you guys are going to find hysterical. So this will be a traditional layout on this side, and then this will be a pocket layout on this side. And then, of course, I have some notes down here of the photos that I want to put in these spots. And then I'll work out the supplies. I have a whole bunch of travel supplies that I want to make sure that I grab for this particular project. And then the design notes. I want an asymmetrical first page. This is the asymmetrical page where I'm going to have some embellishing here and then a smaller cluster here, creating more of an asymmetrical balance. I'm going to have a 4 by 6 photo here. And this is going to be the photo shot of us in the car headed on our way to our destination. I think the photo I'm going to use is of us actually stopping in Louisiana for gas and drinks. And then, of course, the pocket page here on the right. And so I'll continue to use these pages. I have them separated out. I'll continue to use these pages for this project. Again, I'm testing this out, and I hope to roll out something like this in the fall. I've been working on it on and off since the beginning of January, towards the end of last year, just kind of figuring out, and based off of feedback from the community, from the Scrapbook Project Planner, the Scrap Boss Project Planner, which I'm going to revamp and redo. I love having these project pages. So those will be available on sale later this fall. So anyway, so that's what they look like. This is what they look like blank. And this is perfect to be able to just print out. And then what you can do with a project planner page is, as you're building out your pages, is you can take your page protector, and I'll be making some smaller ones too for smaller projects. And you can just slip that in your page protector, slip your photos in there, even some of your embellishments, and you have a page planned and ready to go. So when you sit down to do your project, then you already know how you want the layout to go. You've already maybe have selected some photos, and it just helps to have all those things preemptively done. Also too, summer is busy, and sometimes we just like to chill and hang out and go outside and do the thing. So, so being able to sit down and kind of plan things out until you're ready to do the project is super helpful. And this is where project planning pages come in, because you can go ahead, jot that idea down, make a note of it, sketch it all out, and then stick it in your page protector or a folder or something, pop it in there. So when you're ready to work on the project, you already have that part of it done. Let me know in the comment section if if you're like me, part of your issue with getting projects done is not having a clear plan in place, right? For some folks, they just scrapbook on the fly, and I think that's fantastic. And they don't worry about any of this. But I do know that this forethought sometimes is the hang up for scrapbookers getting projects done. All right, so I'm actually going to keep this in here because I know that's where it's going to go. And then I'm going to put this right behind it. And then the next step after that will be getting embellishments and things sorted out, getting my photos printed. I'll stick the photos in there, and then any of the products that I'm going to use for the page. And all I have to do is just slip that right into my album. And I already have a plan done for the first and the second and third page of the album. So that's how I'm approaching this. And I hope to work on a couple of pages throughout the week. In the morning time before I get started on my other work that I have to do. One of the things I started doing this year was trying to make sure that I'm spending at least 30 or 40 minutes before I start my work working on creative projects. So I think that's what I will do, is work on this project over the next few weeks. And then I'm also going to be fiddling more with these project planner sheets. I like the idea of having a full 8.5 by 11 sheet because it gives you more space. But it might also, these sheets might be different for, say, a 4 by 4 project where it may be a half sheet. Or maybe it's just, multiple of these little squares on one printout. And then you can, plan your little page and stick it in the pocket. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet, but that's one of my summer projects I'm working on, and hopefully be able to offer those things to you guys. All right, let me go to the comment section real quick. I've been chatting. Let me go here. Casey's going to Walt Disney World next year to celebrate the baby's second birthday. Oh, have so much fun. That's going to be awesome. Hopefully the meet and greets do come back. They've been doing some fantastic things at both Disney World and Disneyland since Disneyland opened as far as characters are concerned. But the cool thing about your baby is that baby won't know what baby's missing. So if you don't get to see characters or get those photo opportunities, don't worry about it too much. Laura says her and her husband are planning to conquer more lighthouses this summer. Oh, that should be amazing. We have a trip in the works, well, hopefully in the works, to do lighthouses and libraries on the East Coast. So we got that idea from a YouTuber we follow who did lighthouses and libraries on the East Coast. So we hope to do the same thing. Lighthouses are amazing. Cute little front page. Thank you. Really enjoy the 6x8 for capturing daily life stories. Claire, yeah, I think that's fantastic. Sci-Fi Scrapper says, it was 2020 is such a good reason or excuse for so many things, to be honest. That is so true. Casey says that 9x12 is your newest obsession. Right, it seems like it's a fun size. Thinking about adding 9x12 to your inventory, says Janet. Love the 9x12. Studio Calico still did the Color Theory albums, and that's well, I didn't know that. I haven't shopped at Studio Calico in years, so I need to check that out. Kelly's using 9x12 for her yearly scrapbook. That's awesome. Jenna says she brings her sprocket camera along with 6x6 paper pads, some markers, a corner rounder, 1 or 2 washi tapes, and a pack of die cuts and a glue runner. I'll work on it in the evening before bed. That's a fantastic idea, particularly if you have some downtime in the evening on your vacation. If you bring just a few little bits of supplies, then you can definitely knock out a project while you're there. If your portable printer and a little bit of supplies, so that's great. That way you're not worried about it too much when you come home because it's already done, and maybe you can then do some finishing touches when you come home. Let's see. Patricia, I'm interested to see how the photos come up in 9x12 as well. I'm getting ready to put my new printer to the test in that larger size. So I'm really, really excited about it. So Studio Calico has the 9x12. Fantastic. And of course, Barb also offered that 9x12 is sold on Amazon through a company called MCS. So hopefully the quality is good on that. Project planner sheets are awesome. Used to create my own for years. We'll have to go back when you roll it out in the fall. Thank you, Sarah. I've been kind of going back and forth, probably thinking a little bit too hard about the project planner sheets, but they definitely help me. And I know that I needed to spend more time on the front end with my planner sheets and how I want to design them, how I want them to work, making them easy to get projects done as much as possible. I am kind of frustrated by the number of projects that are not complete, but also at the same time trying not to be too frustrated, put too much pressure on myself. But as I'm thinking back on really important stories or experiences, I want to get those scrapbooks so I can relive that time and to have those stories told. So I think getting things organized up front definitely helps, for sure. Linda says, I love the planning pages, although sometimes feel as though I spend more time planning than actually getting layouts done. And, that's a really good point. I know one of the things that I've had to refrain from is planning to inertia, right? I've really settled in on doing like a skeleton plan of what it is that I want to do. Like with here, I kind of have it all mapped out. But I also know that when I sit down to work on this, there is a strong possibility that I may change something up. I may get another idea or something doesn't work how I originally planned. So I kind of like the idea of kind of having a skeleton plan in place and somewhat knowing what direction. This also helps when I sit down to work on a project and I'm like, I really don't want to think that hard about it. So I would have already done the forethought and this didn't take me too long. I probably planned these 3 pages out in maybe 20 minutes. I just sat down and I'm like, yep, that'll work, and kept it moving so I don't fall into inertia. Laura Hayes says, when I was working on my grandson's first album and now subsequent, where'd it go? Laid out each page holiday and something fun. I knew exactly what photos I needed to print and add. Helped me a lot. Absolutely. Love the planner sheets. Awesome. They would be good to take with you as you relax every day from the day. That's a really good point, Patricia. You could take your planner pages with you and just go ahead and get your plan in place before you do your project when you get home. That's fantastic. Love the project sheet size A5 so they fit into a planner. That's also a really good point there, Kate. Absolutely. Heading to Greece in September to celebrate my 65th. Barb, that's fantastic. What a wonderful trip that's going to be. Love the planner sheets. I scrapbook on the fly. Feel like it takes longer to finish a layout because I spend so much time thinking about what to do. Yeah. And and all these things can be done in bits and pieces, right? So you can break them down into batches. One of the things we're talking about in my project done class is that you don't have to do everything all at once, right? So one day you can do the planner page or plan out your album, whether you use a project page or not. The other day you can print out your photos, and then maybe the next day you pull materials for your project. It all doesn't have to be, in one session. And particularly for those of us who are stretched on time, getting a little bit of that done, that creative work done throughout the week, not only helps to satisfy the creative itch, but it helps you move along in your projects. You don't have to do it all at once. Yes, the simplicity of the planner sheets are so important. I don't like planner sheets that are too busy and offer too many options. I just want to get straight to the point so I can plan it and get to work on my projects. My travel album plans only go as far as a list of the pages I want to make. And sometimes that's fine too. Sometimes people don't need that visual, right, to map things out. Sometimes you just want a list of things you want to do. Thank you, Wendy. She says the planner sheets are awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's kind of my initial plan for the Charleston travel album. And again, let me see if I can pull another album that I've used. Here is a travel album. I'm going to move this to the side. This is... it's a travel album / my honeymoon album from 2009. So this is a 12 by 12 postbound album. I no longer use postbound albums, and I'm trying to decide if I want to convert the albums that I do have in postbound to the ring-bound album, so I'm not quite sure yet. So this was a vacation album. We actually had a delayed honeymoon. Here's that title sheet, that title page. And again, this was made many years ago. So my style has somewhat changed over time. But I would do 12 by 12, 2-page, spreads here. Let me see if I can get that within shot. Me chomping on a binge chili bowl hot dog. Susan says, do you share your planner sheets? Susan, I am working on a set of planner sheets that I will be selling in the fall. So stay tuned for that information. For that to come. All right, so here's binge chili bowl. I'm trying to see if I can hold it so you guys can see it. So a lot of 2-page layouts for this one. Very linear. I probably used a sketch for these. My colors were a bit darker than that I like to use. And I liked this size as a travel stories in particular because it does give you a little bit more landscape for photos and things. But what I found is that for travel, for vacation, it's become a little bit too big of a space for me. I do know that people continue to use this size for their travel albums for sure. Air and Space Museum, we went to Washington, D.C. for our honeymoon. But I still look back on this with a lot of fondness. A lot has changed over the years. You've been following me for a lot of times. I know the half smoke is delicious. But, at the time, I think the first couple bites were good for me, and then I kind of fell off of it. I didn't know at the time that I was pregnant, so things taste a little bit different for me. When we go back to DC, we do have a plan to go to DC. I want to get a half smoke again and see if it tastes different to me. I use a lot of lace, all these different embellishments and such, all the little flowers. Barack Obama was in office during that time. Look at that. We were at the mall. White House. We didn't get to tour the White House on that trip, but we did get to tour the Capitol, which was great. National Cemetery. So if you notice, there's a lot of 2-page spreads going on. In comparison to, say, my more recent travel albums that are smaller in scale and more pocket-based, for sure. Some ephemera in there. I mean, the scale and the size are different, right? So very different in style, and colors are a little bit brighter. So there's that. Another 2-page. I think all of these are 2 pages because I've had so many photos. Supreme Court, the Capitol. I was a skinny mini back in 2009. Oh, we did a night tour during our honeymoon, and then I have ephemera, 1 page devoted to ephemera, whereas in this album, I have ephemera throughout the album, right? I've got, these interactive elements. I got a postcard tucked in there. I've got a little pocket with receipts inside. So that was a slight little unexpected evolution tour of Victoria, an older album versus what I'm currently scrapping. So over the years, as I'm documenting vacations, I've kind of moved away from the 12 by 12 2-pagers, which I know that a lot of people still do. Like this is, if you go to any scrapbook, retreat, or crop, majority of people are doing pages like this, right? So yeah, there we go. So that's that album there. And I don't think I have another travel one handy. So, I am excited to try the 9 by 12. I can't wait to get started on this. Well, actually, I already got started on it with the photos and stuff like that. But I can't wait to start doing the layouts and sharing those things with you. I know a couple of you had questions about the planner sheets. I am working on this project, hopefully to roll out this fall. And if it does, I'll let you know and where you can find the planner sheets. Barb says, just returned from Minneapolis. Saw our granddaughter after 1.5 years. Getting ready to do my first dedicated travel album. Definitely a plan to use a smaller size. Yes. And that's great you got to see your grand. That's fantastic. Laura says, still a 2-page spread, girl. My sister's slowly getting me to convert to single or incorporate both. And you know what? I think some people are just really comfortable with that 12 by 12 2-page style. And for a lot of folks, it's because they want to add a lot of photos, opportunities for photos on their layouts, or just have more space to do more things on their layouts. Whereas for some people, 12 by 12 may be a little bit too big of a landscape for some projects, which is so wonderful that we have now so many fantastic opportunities and album sizes that we can choose from, and that they can all serve a different purpose, whether they're for our regular scrapbooking or for themed projects or gifts or whatnot. Gemma says, I really can't do 12 by 12. I try and the pages always feel so empty, but I have a 12 by 12 with pocket pages because I had so many photos from a month-long trip. And that's where it lends itself very well to that, for sure. Hey, Karen, what's going on? Susan says, I plan to use the 2-page spreads for all of the Germany pics. 4 trips with lots of memories. Oh, I bet. Hey, Rena. She says, hello from Brisbane. Hey, from Australia. Happy to catch you. Well, happy you're here. Thanks so much. Let me know in the chat section, what is your by far favorite scrapbook album size? What size do you like to scrapbook in? For me, so far to date, I really enjoy scrapbooking in 6x8 album size. I'm trying to see if there's another album that I have. Anywhere? Let's see. Here's another one. Just trying to see. I really, really love the 6x8 size. This one is a 6x8, but I think that the album cover is a little bit bigger than this other 6x8. This is from Simple Stories, this album. This one's One Little Word from 2019. Again, fantastic way to scrapbook. I love the size for this type of project. There's lots of words in this project, lots of pockets, things of that nature. And I'll be sharing my current One Little Word, which is not in a 6x8 bind album. It's in a traveler's notebook style album. So let me know, what is your favorite size that you like to scrapbook in? I love this size, the 6x8 size, because it's just big enough for me to do certain projects, but it's not too big where I feel overwhelmed. And I think this was 2019 was the last One Little Word album that I completed. I didn't finish 2020. I'm just gonna chuck that away. Use those materials on my 2021. Like, I was not motivated to do the 2020 for a variety of reasons, which I'm sure you'll probably all understand. I love the 6x8 album style with all of these different pockets, and then of course being able to create full 6x8 spreads, which are super fun in a different format to work in. And then of course you can add in all the interactive elements and things. So just scaling it down and really things that you would possibly maybe do in a 12 by 12, you can certainly do in some of these smaller sizes as well. So, I remember that with the journaling on the back. That was fun. That's a fun little element. I forgot about that. Forgot about all of these. Love going back and looking at this. That was kind of a weird year for me. 2019 was a weird year. Okay, 2020 was an even weirder year. All right, let me know what sizes that you like to work at. 12 by 12, 12 by 12. I see a lot of 12 by 12. 6 by 8 or 4 by 4, absolutely. Speaking of, I have a 4 by 4 album here in comparison, 6 by 8, 4 by 4. These are perfect. Paige Evans works in this size a lot for her mini albums, a lot of travel and theme-based albums. I did this for Day in the Life, an Ali Edwards project, and I focused mainly on words and photos for this album. Printed my photos out 4 by 4, and then created these 4 by 4 journaling blocks on Microsoft Word, and then printed them out. And I love this size for projects like this. I even did a December daily this size one year. I was inspired by Ali Edwards to do that. And I don't know if I'll do another December daily that size or not. I haven't decided yet, but it was really, really fun to do. So this was perfect for a day in the life. And I kept just a simple formula. So I had the journaling, the time, and then a photo, which worked out perfect. And this is something that I didn't have to commit any larger size of an album to. Some people do. I found this size to be perfect for this particular storytelling journey opportunity for sure. And I do look at this. I look at my albums all the time. I love looking at my albums and going back and reading over the things that we were doing on that particular day. So this was a fun project. And I just used some scraps from God knows where, the papers. But anyway, so that's a 4x4 size. All right, lots of 12x12 people. 6x8 looks like. Sydney's enjoying 9x12, 8x11. I do like 8.5x11. I've done some 8.5x11 albums. 6x8, 12x12, 12x12. So lots of 12x12s for sure. I'm going to try 4x4 for a city break album. Yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. I love the 4x4 size is so much fun to work in. If you want some 4x4 inspiration, check out Paige Evans' Instagram. And I think she also has a blog and Facebook group. And she does a lot of 4x4 projects. And I think she has some mini album classes coming up. So you might want to check that out too. So yeah. 4x6 prints too. Was looking into Persnickety box, which is 4x4. Not sure about it. I love the Persnickety box. I've been subscribing since they released it, and it's fantastic to be able to get a 4x4 photo and use it in your scrapbooking. I have some photos that I'm getting ready to use for scrapbooking. They're perfect for the 4x4 albums, and they partnered with Close to My Heart that sells some albums that fit the photo size. So you might want to check that out if you want something super simplistic. All right. So guys, that is the plan for the Charleston album. And then of course, just a little chat about album sizes. And my recommendation always is to just try something new. If you're looking for a different format, don't be afraid to scale up, to scale down, to find some spot in the middle that feels comfortable to you. And not every project has to be a 12x12, unless of course that's your preference. You do whatever works, whatever is your jam. But I personally love being able to ebb and flow out of these different album sizes and different formats. I think it adds a bit of a challenge creatively, and it just makes for some really cool scrapbooking projects. I will probably continue to scrapbook travel and themed-based stories in a smaller album other than anything smaller than 12x12. I just find that it's easier to work in. But I'm also a tried and true 12x12 traditional scrapbooker, so those will still be in my scrapbook library for sure. But I appreciate being able to just grab a small album and work on a small project without being overwhelmed by a larger landscape. So there we go. That's all I have for you today. Thank you guys for joining me on this Wednesday live. We'll be back next Wednesday at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. During that live, I am going to be making something. It could be something out of my travel album, or it could be using the kit that I made the week before I left. I combined and made a big Felicity Jane mega kit, and so I'll probably do that next week. Let me pop in on the chat just a quick second. Carrie says Paige has a class this Saturday. She sure does. So if you want some more information, I think that involved a kit, purchasing a kit, but I'm not sure. I know Paige has all that information on her website. And Sonia says a 6x8 is her comfort zone. In the past, I worked at a 12x12, ran out of storage room, heading back to Disney in November. Can't wait. Yeah, and I think that's the thing with 12x12. That might be a whole nother conversation. It's like, are you running out of space to store your 12x12 albums? Particularly for those of us who've been scrapbooking for a very long time. Where do you put those albums? Is it something that bothers you? Is it something that you want to scale back on? Is it something that you want to change? I think I mentioned a few weeks ago, I don't know if it was here on the live or during the virtual crop, but I had a guest at one of my retreats who was converting all of her 12x12 albums into a traveler's notebook size album. And at the time of the retreat, she was almost done converting all of them because of space considerations and, you know, who is she going to pass these albums on to or off to as, you know, at some point when she's no longer here. So it's stuff like that, I think, that a lot of us think about, or maybe we don't. Maybe we just scrapbook 12x12 and we don't worry about it. So it'd be interesting to talk about that, circle back to that conversation during another live. All right, folks, have a fantastic Wednesday. I'll see you back here, same time, same place, and I'll be making something. Meanwhile, make sure you follow me on my socials on Instagram, Facebook. Stay tuned for more content. There's going to be actually a video that's going to pop up on the 24th here on the YouTube channel. I'm a part of a YouTube hop with Becky Adams in honor of her late son, Austin. So make sure you guys check out that video. Click the bell, that way you'll get a notification when the video pops up. And I will see you guys next week. Make sure if you want some information about some of the albums that I talked about today, the links are in the description box. All right, folks, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.